Welcome to another episode of Democracy at the Crossroads, a platform dedicated to the defense of democratic principles and democratic institutions in our country. Yesterday was indeed a big day in our democracy's history for many of us. We saw a majority of the poor people in our country cast their lot with forces who are fighting for our democracy, for our constitution. While most of the upper and middle classes continued to shut up to the authoritarian and the communal forces. The data on voting patterns showed that a sizable section of the poor Dalits withdrew their support from Modi's Hindutva espousing BJP and joined forces with whichever opposition parties were fighting the battle for democracy. It was not for nothing that Modi's BJP, with all its gargantuan election machinery at its command, saw its seat tally reduced from 303 in 2019 to 240 this time. The BJP got a straight drubbing in 24 scheduled caste constituencies. Its numbers came down from 77 in 2019 to 53 yesterday. There are almost 24 more constituencies which are not reserved, but where Dalits have a decisive voice in the electoral outcome. There too, Dalits deserted Modi's BJP in hordes and joined the opposition forces. Why did they do so? Because they knew these domineering Hindutva forces, despite the lip service to Ambedkar, will play around the benefits granted to them by the Constitution. The Dalits know that has been a long time RSS agenda which Modi will fulfill if he gets a brute majority in its third term. That the Dalits rose to the defense of Indian democracy was a cause for celebration. But that was not all. We also saw the people of Manipur, with a sizable tribal population, rose in unison to inflict the most humiliating defeat on the BJP, the party which is ruling in the state, the party which has presided over and lent support to the loot, rape, mayhem by forces owing loyalty to the Saffron Brigade. This Manipur spectacle was also a cause of celebration for all those who cherish the victory of democracy. What was equally spectacular was the defeat administered to the communal forces by the poor, the marginalized. For the Saffron Brigade, the inauguration of the newly constructed Ram Temple in Ayodhya, built after the demolition of the Babri Masjid in the same spot, was the sure-shot communal recipe for an election victory for the BJP. A national holiday on January 22, the day the Prime Minister presided over consecration ceremony at the Ram Temple, had caused an unprecedented excitement among the middle and upper class Hindu elite, which had gone to town saying that 2024 was a done deal. But just see, the poor, the marginalized, the voiceless people of Ayodhya region roundly rejected the communalization of politics by the Saffron Party. The BJP got a humiliating drubbing not only in Ayodhya, the seat of Faizabad, where the Ram temple is located, but also in all the 5 seats in the Ayodhya region. We must celebrate this categorical rejection of authoritarian and communal politics of the BJP bandwagon by the poor, the unprivileged sections of our society. And that was the high point of the election results yesterday. But as we said earlier, we also saw another scenario in yesterday's result. It's indeed a matter of deep concern that most of our middle and upper classes continue to rally to the support of the authoritarian and communal Modi bandwagon. That was reflected in the sweeping victory that the BJP got in many of the urban clusters, including the national capital. So, we were witness to 2 contrasting developments in the results yesterday. The largely poor, uneducated, socially and economically deprived, marginalized sections came to the defense of democracy, but yesterday's results also showed the dark clouds hovering over Indian democracy. That was evident from the conduct of the so-called educated class, the relatively socially and economically advanced sections, extending open support to the brazenly authoritarian and communal forces. That's why yesterday was simultaneously a day of triumph and a day of sorrow. A day of triumph because an arrogant authoritarian Modi has been brought down a few notches from his high pedestal so that he cannot anymore ride roughshod over our constitutional principles. But it's a moment of defeat as well, as Modi's BJP is still in a pole position to form the next government to continue to nibble at our democratic scenes. At this critical juncture, we confront a serious question. How long will our democracy survive on the shoulders of the poor, the illiterate, the Dalits, while the relatively better off sections collude with those undermining our democratic values? Well, there is no easy answer. All those who love our democracy will have to make a renewed resolve to continue their fight against not only an openly anti-democratic political party, but also against thousands of its blind supporters who are complicit in the slow poisoning of our democracy. It's a tough fight, but we must remember that the preservation of democracy is an arduous challenge anywhere in the world.